Hey everybody, this is Bobby Harbert from Sister to Sister International Network of Professional African American Women, Inc., better known as Sister to Sister, Inc., and you're listening to the Sisters Excel podcast. This show focuses on our guests' lived experiences, their lives from where they came from, and the impact they've had in their communities and beyond. This podcast is for everyone, and especially Black women and girls from all walks of life, where we focus on standing together, building communities of sisterhood, and realizing endless potential. Our mission is to advance equity in all aspects of Black women and girls' lives through community, vital education, scholarship, social connectivity, emotional support, networking, and forums to showcase their creativity in a global environment. Our purpose is to extend authentic sisterhood throughout the world through nurturing communities wherein Black females are respected, recognized, encouraged, supported, and loved, enabling them to thrive. A native of Jacksonville, Florida, Maude Brown Lofton, MD, is a retired developmental pediatrician with more than 40 years of service in the healthcare field. She is a graduate of Spelman College, the University of Florida College of Medicine, and life member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Dr. Lofton's initial career goal was to become a school teacher, but that changed when she discovered the field of medical technology. Having majored in biology while at Spelman, she needed only to fulfill a one-year internship, which she completed at Duval Medical Center, the city-owned hospital in her hometown of Jacksonville, Florida. At the end of the internship, she accepted a position at the hospital and worked there from 1967 to 1970, before relocating to Washington, D.C., where she worked at Doctor's Laboratory, a private diagnostic facility. Desiring to pursue an advanced degree, Dr. Lofton returned to Florida to pursue advanced studies at the University of Florida in preparation for applying to graduate school. Midway through the course of study, she was introduced to Jim Durup, Ph.D., a professor at the college who recruited college students and who suggested that she consider applying to medical school. Working with him as an advisor, she accepted and graduated from the University of Florida College in Medicine in 1979. Dr. Maude Lofton, welcome to our podcast. I'm so glad you joined us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So I have titled this podcast The Accidental Physician, and after our audience listens to you, they're going to know why it is titled such, okay?
Okay.
Yes. So from your bio and how your life unfolded from wanting to become a school teacher to how you stumbled into the field of medical technology to even later applying to medical school, being accepted and graduating as a physician. Wow, what a series of accomplishments. What advice do you have for our audience who may be feeling that they've been traveling down their path of life with so many twists and turns, yet they're feeling that they've not quite anchored onto the right path?
Well, I would say continue your journey and pay attention along the way to what you are experiencing. Because when you do stumble upon the right path, or that right path presents itself to you, you will have had all of that experience behind you to draw from. And be open to new people, new thoughts, new ideas as you go along this journey. Because what you think you may be wanting to do at that time may change as you go along your path. So be open.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I agree. Openness is really important to
But also continue along your path.
Absolutely. I always say, work a lot with students, and I'm always encouraging students never to give up and to keep trying, because you never know what's going to be down that path when you turn that one corner.
Exactly. And every experience is an opportunity to learn.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with that. So, I do believe in happenstances in life that you meet people for a reason. And I think about the many chances that you had encountered with Dr. Jim Derupt, a professor at the college and recruiter for the College of Medicine, who suggested to you to consider applying to medical school. So, can you think back to during that time, that conversation that you had with the recruiter, and tell us what were you thinking as you were listening to those words roll off of his lips that said you should consider applying to medical college?
I think my thought was, he must be nuts because it was not anything I ever considered. And even when I was in college, my preparation there was just general science, and I was thinking about a career in education, maybe becoming a teacher. But I liked sciences, and I liked studying science. But when he suggested that, I said, "Oh, he's just got to be kidding." But he was persistent, and this happened after I had actually graduated from Spelman, and I had worked as a medical technologist after I graduated from Spelman, and I was thinking about pursuing an advanced degree. But also at that time, as God would have it, I started to say as luck or fate would have it, but as God would have it, it was during the time when there was a major push to get more minorities and African Americans enrolled in medical school.
Mm-hmm.
So because when I went to Spelman, thinking in the back of my mind that I was going to become a teacher when I was there, a science teacher, because one of my most influential people when I was in high school was my science teacher, and I love sciences. I love being outdoors, chasing bugs and digging up ant beds and doing all of that kind of stuff. So he convinced me, and at University of Florida at that time had a post baccalaureate study program, because that was in the 70s, and every college was making a major push to get more minorities into medical school. So I listened to him, and it was like, okay, I can try this. And I enrolled in a postgraduate program at the University of Florida for a year, and did all of the necessary science courses and everything, and I applied. So I think the timing, which I'm going to say God's always in charge of timing,
Mm-hmm.
was behind it. So it happened, and I enrolled. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, I was at the university for my 45th class reunion. So
Awesome.
it was a remarkable time. Yeah.
I bet it was. Fast forward to now. I think he saw in you what I and many others see in you today, your kindness and your care for others. Your work speaks really for itself. And you've always created a platform for others to stand on and to continue to give of yourself. So I'm going to say thank you for that, for all that you do. Very much appreciative.
Well, you are very welcome, and you're making me embarrassed.
The truth is the truth. So you served as chief resident for your pediatric program, and after completing your residency, joined the faculty as an assistant professor and served on the admissions committee for the College of Medicine. And I might add that you served as chief resident at other hospitals.
No, not at other hospitals. I was chief resident during my residency in my program,
Okay, all
when I
right.
was in my pediatric training program.
Okay.
Then I joined the faculty at that hospital once I finished my training.
Mm-hmm.
So in that position that's how that played out.
Okay. All right. Very good. And then, and I know you basically have seen the passage of time and the advancement of technology over the many years. I have a question that is related more to parenting and health care for children. As parents, we're in the forefront of our minds of trying to make sure that our children have their annual physical exams and that they're all caught up on their vaccinations. But I would ask you, what are some of the steps parents of young children should be taking to ensure that not only is their physical health care being addressed, but addressing the mental health of our youth?
Well, I think it starts from a very early age. And one important thing is to make sure you have a very stable environment, for your child or your children. And in this very busy and hectic world that we live in now, there are so many factors that can interrupt that, where that may not be so stable or so steady. Back in that day, there were different things I would say that, well, I shouldn't say they were in place any better, because my life has always been tumultuous, but trying to create at least as stable a home environment as you possibly can. And that doesn't have to be a two-parent home environment, as long as there are loving adults who can pay attention to the child and shower the child with love to help that child develop and build confidence. And that starts at a very early age. You want to make sure that you have good home care for your child, or child care, which is sometimes not always available if you have to work, or if a mother has to work, or a mother is in school. Years ago, you had lots of extended family that, you could leave your child with, or some kind of daycare placement that you could trust and leave your child with. But I would say in the last 20, 30 years, that whole system has been disrupted on many levels. So, maintaining a consistent, stable, as best you can, home life, and showering that child with love. Young children need consistency, and they need to be shown that they are loved, and they need to be stimulated. They need to be talked to. You need to look them in their eyes, sing to them, hold them, love them, kiss them, touch them. Do all of those things that make them feel safe and make them feel loved. And laugh. Laughter is always the best medicine.
I agree. And I know that the youth suicide rates are increasing, or actually did increase during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're still not that far away from those years. And so youth suicide is still the number one death of young people. And I know you say to pay attention to children and to love on them, but what are some of the things that maybe communities can do, local communities and state governments can do to help try to reduce this staggering number?
Well, that's a really complicated issue. And of course, state governments as well as federal, the first thing they're going to say is that there's no money for things like that. But as I had indicated to you in my write-up, when I was growing up, we were fortunate enough to have a couple in the community, an elderly couple.
Mm-hmm.
And they invited kids into their homes and developed neighborhood programs within their homes in the community for the children, block parties and just cookies and ice cream and things like that in the afternoons when we were out of school. And I think, there are a lot of social clubs around who are trying to play that role and setting up programs for children and youth. But, it really has to start at a very young age. And there needs to be safe and secure childcare for mothers who are working when families can't participate, or families can't play that role, where mothers can feel safe and feel that the children are safe, leaving them in childcare environment. This country, it does not do good with that, particularly for low income and minority kids. Sometimes it's hard to find quality childcare. So I think as a community of people, we have to lobby for that. We have to push for that, and we have to encourage that and support that. You know, some churches have childcare facilities, but not all of them, and it's not enough. You know, we talk to legislators and politicians about the need for it, and we have to push more for it. And I think that parents have to, and you know, not so much how much this is taught. See, when I was growing up, that was just part of life. That was just part of what you did. Is because you knew that no one was going to come up with something for you. So communities got together and tried to build programs. And I think we need to go back to that and try to draw in as many people as possible, you know, to help in that effort. I think now with communication being what it is, that's more helpful. You know, we can, there's and in this community, what I find here in Denver, there are a lot of organizations between the sororities, the fraternities, and just civic organizations that are trying to do that. But it's important that the community support those efforts.
I agree. And leading into that, that's going to be my next question. You know, looking back in your childhood in Jacksonville, Florida, you've said that there was always someone trying to keep the kids safe. And in the segregated South, there were very few people who really invested in women and girls, black or white for that matter. But in the black community, there was always someone trying to keep the kids safe and helping them to prepare for their future so that they can continue to dream on. Tell us about your hero and heroine, Mr. and Mrs. Griffin, and their 2G Civic Club. A little bit more about that.
Yeah, that was a couple that lived across the street from one of my best friends. And Jacksonville at that time I lived in the rural area of Jacksonville. I actually lived outside of the city limit. A lot of people don't realize that Jacksonville, Florida, is the largest city in the United States.
Mm.
When I grew up there, the city was not consolidated. You had the county and then the city. I actually lived in the county. The distance wasn't that far by car or bus to get around, but it was just the way the city was divided. And back in the 60s, I think it was in the 60s, I was a kid, I don't know, but they consolidated the city and the county, which made land-wise, area-wise, Jacksonville the largest city in the United States. But the reason that was done is because Black people in the city of Jacksonville were acquiring political clout.
Mm-hmm.
And the population was such that if they had an opportunity, they might elect a Black mayor. So to circumvent that, the city and the county was consolidated, which is what made it why it's so spread out and what made it so big. So that being the case, you know, we pretty much had to fend for ourselves in terms of getting around and communicating. And the promise, what made the vote happen was there was a promise to those of us who lived in the county. And you got to remember, I was a kid, so all of this just wasn't under my radar. The promise was made that the people who lived in the Sound County would get public utility services. See, we didn't have like city services in terms of water. You know, we didn't have fire services. We had volunteer fire services. We didn't have police or any of that. Okay. So with consolidation, you were supposed to get all of those services. You were supposed to get paved roads. You know, it was supposed to be a big upgrade. But the trick was they just did that to get the vote so that they could consolidate the city. But we never got the services. And in some areas, houses still are on septic tanks rather than plumbing and all of that. So it was pretty much a scam, but the way it worked out, Jacksonville's a lovely city now. I enjoy going back there. And I'm very happy with the changes that I've seen. A lot of people really don't know it has a very, very racist background, racist history, but that's not unusual.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you see that the Griffins though really played that role in helping you and the other children deal with some of those things?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We didn't even have to deal with those things with them because they just gave us a world where we could just come to their house. They set up what was called the 2G Civics Club.
Mm-hmm.
And they just let any child, some of the children who participated in it lived near them, but I did not. But my grandmother knew of them because the woman who lived across the street from them was a good friend of hers. So I would catch the bus from where I lived out in the county and ride into town to participate in the programs. And my grandmother's friend had a daughter who became my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And she lived in the neighborhood with the Griffins. But even in my own neighborhood, out in what they call the sticks, you know, everybody knew whose child you were. If you were walking down the street to go to the store, you know, there were eyes on you.
Right.
Going and coming. You know, there was nothing because my grandmother and my father worked, you know, so when, you know, coming home from school, my brother and sister and I were mostly at home alone.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
we had a whole neighborhood who was looking out for us and watching, you know, watching out for us.
yes, you had a whole neighborhood of the Griffins that was really taking care of
Yeah,
of everyone. Everyone.
yeah. There used to
Awesome.
be a song called Miss Rubberneck Jones, and I don't know how many of your viewers would remember that, but we used to go behind people's back and sing that song about them.
I don't believe I've heard that before, and I don't know if you want to sing it to the audience, but no, I don't. I didn't think you would want to.
No.
Awesome. Okay, very good. So, Dr. Lofton, you've been recognized as a community leader, not only in the communities in which you've lived in, but actually across the country. And I know that in 2015, you had established the Forever Young Foundation. Tell our audience a little bit about that Forever Young Foundation, which provides financial support for youth education programs, as well as health programs for women. Will you just give us some background on that, please?
Well, I actually did that around the time I had a very significant birthday, and I gave myself a big party. And the theme of my party was Forever Young.
Mm.
I got a lot of support, you know, and a lot of gifts. And I decided that that would be a good title for a foundation that I could use to do some philanthropy. So that's how that got started about 10 years, about 9 or 10 years ago after I moved here. But I had been here in Denver for a while when I established it. So it's been a way that, and you know, we're not talking about major financial funding or anything like that, but it's a way that I can give back to the community and get involved, particularly with organizations or entities, you know, to just need some funding to get that financial help to get them going with programs as they're seeking larger funding amounts. So it's been very rewarding. I've really enjoyed it doing it, and it's still ongoing.
Mm-hmm. And tell us about some of the recent projects that you've actually embarked upon, and maybe even some things that you like to do in your free time, which I know you probably don't have a lot of free time because you are always jet setting across the country, speaking at engagements and events and things like that. But just tell us a little bit about some projects that you're working on.
Well, you know, they're not so much individual projects as they are assisting others in trying to set up projects. My independent project days are over. I'm trying to cut back from all of that, but you know, I get involved with startup community projects where they need funding. to get up and running. And that's one of the things I use the foundation for, just to help people pay for expenses that just support them as they're getting up and getting started. I'm on the health committee at New Hope Baptist Church, of which I am a member. So I'm involved with the different programs that are set up through the health committee. Sharika Cousins, who is just a wonderful, wonderful resource person, is in charge of the committee. So I do what I can to support them, not just with financing, but just with my expertise or just helping in any way I can. I mean, that's really about it. That's really what I enjoy doing. I don't want to name the various organizations because I may omit one, but they know, who they are. And I do it because when I was growing up, based on the community support and the system in which I grew up in, that's what people did.
Right, exactly.
Reached out, protected, and supported the youth, and the kids. So that's what I come out of. So, so that's what I try to continue. And I'm not sure if that answered your questions.
Oh, it does. Oh, absolutely, it does. So tell me, what are some of the things that you like to do in your free time? We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, that you're so busy you don't have a lot of free time. But if you were to have ample free time, what would be some of the things that you would like to do?
Well, when I first moved out to Denver, and I can't believe it's been that many years ago, but I did ski for a while. I skied with the slippers and sliders, and that was fun. I don't do that anymore. And I played tennis, and I really enjoyed that. I played league tennis. And I just like I live in a community that's good for walking and hiking. And I did that. And then things just got so hectic and so busy between traveling and just different organizations I was involved in. It seems like, oof, all of that was years ago now, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I walk 3.5 miles every morning when I wake up in my neighborhood. And I enjoy that. And so now I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do with myself when I grow up. So
there you go.
But I'm also trying to rest and relax and just enjoy every minute of every day.
Absolutely. And we all are trying to figure out what we want to be when we grow up.
Right.
We're all in good company.
Right.
All in good company. What are some of the things that make you smile?
Oh, and listen, I love to laugh. Okay, if I couldn't laugh, I couldn't live. I mean, to make me smile, just waking up in the morning and looking outside, and I have lots of deer that come into my yard. I had a little fawn who was sleeping at my front door like a little dog for a while. I think he had, I'm not sure if his mom or its mom had been killed, but because there's a lot of traffic. But then a few days later, I saw it later with another doe and fawn. So I think someone adopted it. So, I mean, where I am, there's just so much nature, so much sunshine, just so much peace and calm. And I love that. I actually love that. I could not leave my neighborhood for a whole week and just be satisfied. I have family. I have a son here, and he has a daughter. So we get together frequently, just to be together or go to the movies or go someplace fun, and my sister who lives in Atlanta comes to visit a lot. So I have friends, I'm active in my church. So I'm just enjoying life at this point in my life. I'm just trying to sit back and relax and exhale and just enjoy what remaining time I have.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Dr. Maude, thank you for being our guest on our podcast. We are blessed to have you and so appreciative of your time.
Well, I thank you for having me. It's such an honor, Bobby.
Our next guest will be Patricia Duncan, Denver author who inspires next generations. To the little Black girls and women, don't give up on your dream. We will discuss her first book, Defining the Times, Barack Obama, the historic journey of the first African American president. She spent years chronicling his presidency. Stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you for listening to Sisters Excel podcast. This podcast is for everyone and especially Black women and girls from all walks of life, where we focus on standing together, building communities of sisterhood, and realizing endless potential. Our mission is to advance equity in all aspects of Black women and girls' lives through community, vital education, scholarship, social connectivity, emotional support, networking, and forums to showcase their creativity in a global environment. Our purpose is to extend authentic sisterhood throughout the world through nurturing communities wherein Black females are respected, recognized, encouraged, and supported, and loved, enabling them to thrive. Thank you for sitting down with us, and remember to live your life to inspire and to be inspired.